rolling from. Are you in Tampa? You said.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, bro. How's that going? How long you there till?
Till Tuesday. So got here. What, Wednesday?
That's what's up, man. Good for you.
Oh, nice.
Enjoy it.
Nice, good.
I see you sipping your cocktails by the pool.
Some wine.
There you go.
I mean, it's some cheap wine. This fire, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, but by the pool, you had some of the cocktails going. I was like, oh.
That is not a. I know. Listen, that little spot that I went to was kind of fire though, for real. Like,
yeah,
because it has like a regular restaurant, but then it has like the beach part to the restaurant as well. So like they have the water right there, and then it all has like a beach bar, and you can still order food and shit like that. It was fire.
Oh, that's what's up. You got a whole weekend, and then Monday, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. Enjoy it.
So,
it's actually nice over here, though. I'm not like, if it was really cold over here, I'd be like, damn it, Mo. But it's actually, we're chilling in Michigan.
I know. Yeah.
Feeling good. I golfed today. That was cool. First time this year.
Look at you.
You golf at all?
I do golf a little bit.
Yeah.
Got some because I went like a couple of times last year, and then I had a couple of coworkers ask me to go, but they were golfing all the way out in like Troy and in Madison. And I'm not about to drive that far to go golf. Like, I'm good. Like, this is too far for me.
Yeah, I'm not very good, but it's fun. When you like the 1 out of 10 shots, that's good. It feels amazing.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Don't let me get it together. Then I'm really feel
right. Yeah. If I put a couple of these together.
No, you asked the trouble, dog.
Man, we've been missing a lot of stuff, man. Last week we had Frank on, so obviously we couldn't talk about stuff for like what, 3 weeks.
Frank was legendary, bro.
Yeah, that was awesome, bro. He's got stories for days, so maybe in a future episode we'll have to get him back on. But shout out to him. That was what's up. I don't know, man. Where you want to start? We got so much we can cover.
I mean, we can let's just wrap up the NCAA tournament. Let's start there.
Yeah, for sure.
I think first, it was just cool to have the tournament back.
Yeah, you're right.
It was good. It was good to just have March Madness back. I mean, the amount of upsets that there were, the run that UCLA went on, and how they just kind of pushed, Gonzaga to the brink there, and Jalen Suggs hitting that shot. It was just fun to just have that back and being, watching it. And like even the girls tournament was just like, it had some fire competition. Like, it was just good all around.
It was, man. You're definitely right. Like you said, it was good. Because, I mean, like, I remember I was on spring break last year. And, like, first of all, I didn't even know what COVID was. But we got the, like, notification, like, spring break's been extended, like, all this shit. And I was like, what's going on, man? And then, like, the next thing that came out was, like, Rudy Gobert tested positive. The NBA shutting down. And the next thing was, like, there's no NCAA tournament. And I was like, what is happening right now, bro? I had like no idea. I was on the West Coast. I was like, is the world ending right now? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, that was scary, man. I didn't know if I was gonna make it home. I was like, are they gonna like shut borders down?
Right.
Like, what? Nuts,
yeah,
bro.
That's real. Yeah, so it was just good to have it back.
Yeah, seriously. And like, I don't know, like I said it from the beginning, kind of like Gonzaga always seems like this year they were better than most years, but they're always like up there as a top seed, and like they're always like, a lot of hype around them, and like usually they don't do as well in the playoffs. Obviously this year they did really, really good in the tournament, but I had been saying I thought Baylor was going to win. I think like they are just so big and athletic, man. They just like clamped them on defense during that game.
Yeah, and that defense from Butler. From Butler, from Jared Butler, from Davion Mitchell, like those dudes get into you, and like what I think they have a nickname for Davion Mitchell. It's like they call him off night, because whoever he guarding, they gonna have off night. Like, dude is a super defender.
Clamps, yep, for sure.
And he's still giving you 17 points a game. So they're gonna be Baylor, and you think about it too. With Baylor and just that whole story from them when Scott Drew got there, previously, like that program is recovering from probably one of the worst things ever. Like, you had it to where two of the players on the basketball team, one of them shot and killed, or I don't know if it was shot, but he killed his other teammate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? And so, like, to think that in that program was in the pits, and, you know, Scott Drew being able to take it from that into a national championship, and then they've been, you know, a top 25 team for probably like the last 5 to 6 years. Like, it's an amazing like just story that from it coming from that.
For sure, bro. I think that was their first championship in like 50 plus years or something like that. Nuts.
I think that was his first championship ever, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Yeah. It was like, honestly, what it looked like how you were just saying, how Zaga was just like shooting people out of the gym early in every game. It looked like Baylor came out and like punched him in the mouth early, and like Zaga didn't know how to like respond to that. They were like, what the hell's going on? Like, they weren't they leading? I don't think they trailed the entire tournament until that game, or maybe the game before they trailed a little bit to UCLA.
Yeah, I think
like, total, that was back and forth. Yeah.
But, yeah, I think total they may have trailed maybe about 20 minutes or so in the tournament prior to that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Baylor came out and just immediately like 9-0.
Yep. Like, it was just, and that game before, I think that was the game of the tournament, the UCLA Zaga game. I mean,
that was a dog ass game.
It was so back and forth. I thought UCLA was going to pull it off just because Zaga, like we were just saying, hadn't even trailed. I just thought, I don't even know if they're going to be able to, but man, Suggs, that was a nuts shot, bro.
You know what was so funny is like with that shot, like in my head, I'm sitting there thinking like, what if he makes this? And then he did. I was like, and I was sitting there with my friend, and we both turned to each other like, bro, what the? Like, it was crazy. Because you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure everybody had that reaction. Like, did he just hit that?
Yeah, right. I'm weird, bro. My first thing is I was looking at UCLA, and I was like, I feel so bad. They look so heartbroken right now. Like, that would just be horrible.
You looked for the tragedy.
Bro. That was the first thing I did. I was just looking at their faces, and I was like, that would be so, because that was such a good play. He got that offensive board and put it back up. I was like, here we go, double overtime. Like, oh man,
so it was a good time. I mean, there were so many good games. So like that Michigan LSU game, like that was a dog ass game.
Right.
Even I think it was at Arkansas and Oral Roberts, like that. Like, it was just some really good games.
Definitely.
And again, I think it was just cool to kind of have the tournament back. Did you watch any of the women's game or the tournament?
I did not. I did watch the championship, but other than that, I did not catch any other ones. But I heard what you just said. Yeah, that like most of it was just very competitive and, you know, a lot of dog ass games.
Yeah. And like some of these girls, like those women, they can ball. Like Caitlin Clark from Iowa, she's a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Like she can go.
Yeah.
Like I think she was putting up like 20 points, 36. Like, she was just a go. You know what I'm surprised is that the women don't have the same rule that the men do as far as like being one and done. Like, they don't have those same rules for like the WNBA.
Is there a rule at all, or can they just go right out of high school?
I think they have like a similar rule to football, like where it's 3 years. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
And I know the girl from Iowa, she's only a freshman. He's like, hey, Becker, she's a freshman. Like they could go easily by playing the WNBA right now.
Yeah.
Like they can go. Like they're leaguers for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't make a bit of sense to me at all. Why would men get a year and they get 3? Why? That's really weird.
I'm not sure. That. I think that is a rule though, and it's crazy because the WNBA they're owned by the NBA, so you would think that they would have a similar process, but they don't.
For sure.
So I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 years.
Man, even back to the other tournament, the Michigan UCLA game was crazy, man. That game was
that was a good game too.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Like I said, I was just happy to have the tournament back.
Yeah, man. I Juwan Howard, man. What a coach, bro. Like that dude, like just turned everything. He's gonna get some recruits next year. You better believe that.
Yeah, they have the number one. Yeah, they got the #1 recruiting class coming in next year.
Yep.
So
Is what's his name still planning on going to MSU? Amani Bates, is that his name?
yeah, so I mean, he's still committed there, but they're saying that he could reclassify to graduate this year, so that way he can, come in a year early, or he may look to reclassify and go to the G League, or go play professionally somewhere for a year and then come back.
Yeah, yeah. If I have that much talent, that's my route. But I mean, do whatever you need to do. I know the college route's that's just like the norm, and that's kind of what everyone's seen. So they're kind of like, okay,
yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like if you have that much talent, like you're undoubtedly a top 5 player of your class, like go play against some men, man, and see how those big boys bump with you and stuff like that, and that helps you transition to the NBA a little better, if you ask me. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see him in green and white. That'd be cool, but I don't know. He needs to put some weight on though. He looks a little skinny.
I mean, I don't think he does. I mean, you look at Durant. It's not like Durant is like the biggest dude either. He still give people work. And we can transition over to the NBA if we want to right now.
Chris Broussard just came out and was like, I think he was on Undisputed, and he was like, this is the most talented team ever. Like, he was like, I have never seen anything like this. And like, man, just seeing him come back off the bench like that, and he just went 5 for 5, just a quick whatever he got, 17, and just sat the way. It was like, oh my God.
Like bro. 17, like 7 boards and 5 assists, like in 17 minutes though.
Dude, he's the best player in the NBA, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, he's
why is it so easy for him?
I don't know, man. It's a combination of obviously the skill and just he's got the perfect body to do what he does. Like, he's just so, you know what I mean? Like, no one can block that shot. His apex is so high. And just like the form of his shot, he's so up there with it. Like,
it's picture perfect. His arms are so long, and then if you try to get close, he can. And then he has that Dirk one leg fade shot too that he can get. And if he fade, you're definitely not going to get it.
Well, he has everything. Let's be honest. Like, I mean, other than, I agree with you. I think maybe the worst part of his game, and it's still probably like an 8 out of 10, is getting to the rim. But like, anything outside of that, he's got everything in the bag, bro. Like, it's every single move, it's unbelievable. Like, I think he's the best player in the world. What did you think about? I know we kind of went back and forth on it a little bit, but the Rappaport thing, that was kind of nuts. I didn't even see the interview, so I didn't even know what they were talking about.
So it wasn't an interview. It was just DMs of him and KD going back and forth, and KD were just calling him a bunch of different like slurs and homophobic things and stuff like that, and just saying some misogynistic things. But what Rappaport said was like when he brought up his wife, and it wasn't directly like KD didn't say anything directly about saying anything about his wife, but just he made reference to rivalry Michael Rappaport. And that's what he took offense to, and that's why he exposed the DMs or whatever. So, one, I think Rappaport was that was a weak ass move. Like, you don't expose your DMs, like those are private messages and everything. Especially knowing who KD is. If you a man, you don't expose him. Like, you just go to him directly. You get his number. You find a way to talk to him directly. Like, we need to talk. Yep. You know what I mean? So he definitely could have made a better move with that. But KD was just also just wrong as well. I mean, you can't. Why are you letting? I mean, me and you kind of messaged back and forth about this. Like, why are you letting Michael Rappaport or all people kind of get you to that point? Like, he's so irrelevant, but you're letting him get under your skin.
Yeah, I mean, that's nothing new for me. I think KD that he just struggles with that a lot, man. But like for me though, even though I criticize him for it, like it doesn't affect his game at all. So it's like I really can't. Even though it bothers me, and I think like he's a bitch when he does that stuff, like. There's no real thing you can really look at. Like I just said, he still balls. Like, it's not like he's letting it, like, it clearly bothers him, but he still kills it. So,
yeah.
I mean,
and maybe he may use it as like motivation. You know what I mean? He may use people talking shit about him on Twitter. Like,
okay, yeah. What do you think? What do you think if like MJ had this? Like, if MJ was in the league today and he had like, I wonder if he would be like that.
Like he may be. real talk. Because
Yeah.
remember, like during that 30 for 30 series, like he made up
Yeah, stuff to
like an
fuel him.
issue out of nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like he made up an issue just to get fueled up. So,
Yep.
you know, in the world of Twitter, like, you know, not he wouldn't have to make anything about it. If he needs something to motivate, he just have to go to Twitter. There's somebody in there, a bot, whoever, that is gonna talk shit, and he'll be like, oh, okay, but we'll see. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. That would have been very interesting to see how he would have handled like the social media age. It's I don't know, but again, it doesn't really bother KD, and I agree with you on both things you just said. Like KD shouldn't have said that shit, but that shouldn't have been let out to the public. I mean, that's private.
No.
Like, just leave it.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I think he got fined.
What he got fined 50K,
mm-hmm.
which I mean, it ain't shit to him. Like, you
whatever.
probably blow that at the casino or something.
Yeah.
Well, I think we got to talk about Charles Barkley's comments about that he feels Chris Paul deserves more appreciation and like more conversation around being an MVP race. What do you think?
Ooh, MVP. I mean, like that's a good point. Just seeing like how it their culture clearly shifts there, and like they're a winning team now. They're a top 2 team, or they're right there with the Clippers for the 2 seed, I think, behind the Jazz. Right?
Yeah, they said. Yep.
Even though they just lost last night to the Clippers, but it's I mean I agree as far as like the culture. I just don't think you can. Excuse me, I don't think you can put his numbers up there enough to say that he's you know in the MVP race. And I love CP, but again, it's also a numbers thing. And like Devin Booker's got all the stats on that team. You know, he's the scorer, he's the main offensive, you know, bucket getter. Even though Chris Paul facilitates that, I just don't think his stats are big enough for the media to vote him MVP.
Yeah, because I think there's other players that are having similar impacts on their team, right? Maybe not to the same extent, but you think about, I mean, Phoenix really hasn't had any issues as far as like somebody being suspended, any COVID protocol situations, or any injuries that they had to deal with so far this year. So I think that's helped them. But we talked about it. Dame has better numbers, and he was, you know, the stuff that he was doing while being completely just devoid of another star on the team, right? And what he was doing with the Blazers. You look at Jokic and him having to carry a team where Jamal Murray is completely struggling to get his form back when he was in the bubble. And I think that acquisition of Aaron Gordon has been a big help for them, but Jokic is dominating. And then you look at James Harden and what he's been able to do while KD's been gone. The team is just completely shifting as far as its roster and the pieces that they're adding, but James has been a steady force. So
yeah, I mean, but like think about what you just said. Like as far as James Harden, that's what like ties me up about the Donovan Mitchell thing, bro. Is like I know we talked about it before, and it's like, you know, he's got such a good defensive core, but like if we're gonna say Harden's in that race with this team that he's on, like again, I'm pounding it for Spider, bro. I think like how can you not? They're a #1 seed. He's their best player. Like I'm not saying he should win, but why is he not even in the conversation? That's crazy.
I mean, for me, I think again, it just kind of comes down to the pieces that are around them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I think I would put Donovan Mitchell in the same boat as I would put like CP, where like they haven't really ran into any situations where there's injuries that had to been held to where you can clearly see that like this team is dependent upon Donovan Mitchell and the stuff that he does. Do we know that's the case? And I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be like an all NBA-er. Like he'll be first, second, or third team for sure. Same with Chris Paul. But I think that team is so well balanced. And like I mentioned, I feel like they're very similar to like that 04 Pistons team to me, where there was such a solid base of a team that no one's going to completely stand out to be like an MVP frontrunner.
Yep. You're right, man. Man, I just got like I was just thinking about Chris Paul again. Do you like he got traded off Houston, right? And he goes to OKC, and he was just written off. Like it was like he's done, like he's old, like whatever.
Yeah, like people thought that they were about to be a lottery team.
Yeah, he drugged them to the playoffs. They almost won. They went to Game 7 against Wasn't it Houston in the bubble?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Houston. Yeah.
Like now he's doing what he's doing this year, bro. Like he needs to be appreciated more, man. Like I loved him so much growing up. He was one of my favorite players back on the Hornets and then in the Clippers. Man, dude, probably one of the. I mean, I don't know if he's even 6'2". Like he's right there at like 6
Yeah, he's
foot,
like
6'1".
5'11", 6 foot. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's the ability for him to be able to just bring a whole entire culture shift. You think about when he got traded to the Clippers and just the culture shift that he had there, and now they're a team that's finishing in the top four, and they're title contenders, and
right.
Granted they've never got to the Western Conference Finals, but he just brings a culture shift of winning. Pretty much anywhere he goes.
He does, man. But it's like he just couldn't get over that hump. And I think, like, isn't it odd that, like, I'm trying to think over the last maybe 40, 50 years, when has a small point guard been your best player and that's enough to get you to a championship? You got Isaiah and, like, Steph Curry. Like, I'm trying to think of another time when that was the case.
I mean, you can talk about Philly when Iverson went to the finals, but
yeah, but a championship. Exactly.
But yeah, no, he didn't win a championship.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know, man.
Let me think. I don't know if you can really point to any.
You can't.
Yes, it's difficult. I mean, maybe talk about like maybe the Lakers team or maybe Derek Fisher.
Yeah, but
when they win, they had.
But Kobe
he wasn't their main focus. Yeah, he wasn't their main focus. So, and then you could talk about the Jazz with Stockton, but I mean, they didn't win a championship. But yeah, no, you're right. You really can't.
It's nuts, bro. And it's like I would love to see CP win a ring, man. Like I said, he was one of my favorites growing up.
Yeah,
he's just stayed consistent for so long. Did he come in the same year as LeBron, or was he
No, he was that following year. So he came in
04
with like Darren Williams.
Remember when that was the rivalry? There was like a period there for like 4 or 5 years when it was like, who's the best point guard, D. Will or CP?
Right, and people sleep on Darren Williams like he wasn't caught. Like Darren Williams at one point, especially when he was a Jazz, he was the best point guard in the league. Like he was big. He had that double crossover. Like, he had the 3-ball.
Yep.
Like Darren Williams was that dude. Like he could go. People really sleep on him, but I think CP just took it over as far as his longevity and his ability to coach, like completely change a culture. So shout out to him.
Definitely, bro. I think he's up there for assists and steals too. I wonder when he retires, even without a chip, like how history is going to reflect on CP. Like, will he go down as one of the greatest point guards? Because I think talent-wise, he
has
is.
to.
But, yeah.
He has to be. I would say he would have to be. Like, the question is, like, let's say he doesn't. Would you feel comfortable putting him above Isaiah Thomas?
Like, that's the thing, man. It's like I didn't see Zeke play live. Obviously, I'm from Detroit, so I've seen every documentary and a bunch of footage of Isaiah, and he looked great. But I don't know. And, like, how much of that is championships, right? So it's like if he didn't have his rings, how would you compare the two of them? I don't know. I had to defer to you on that, bro. Like I just said, I didn't see Isaiah in real time. I don't know if you did, but, like, that's like I
was really young, so like I remember watching the games, but I don't know if I'm not old enough to really appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
But you look at those docs and you look at the time and when they won those championships, right? It was coming off that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson era, and then the coming of like Michael Jordan and that superstar, fandom. And for them to win back-to-back championships, I mean, I think that really has to say something about, Isaiah Thomas and, the stuff that he's been able to accomplish.
That whole team was, I mean, I don't know if, it's got to be definitely one of the top 5, like, best just teams I've ever heard of, researched, seen a movie. Like, it's just from top to bottom, they had so many pieces that were so great and so integral to like what they did and like their identity. Oh man, it would have been so cool to been in Detroit, like, at our age now, like back in the like early 90s, just seeing them. That'd have been so crazy. Cool because like everyone hated them, but like we loved them.
Right.
Like that's so awesome. Like Bill Laimbeer, that takes a lot of mental fortitude to do what that dude did. Like watching those 30 for 30s and him just being like, hey, I understand I'm the most hated guy in the league, and like I feel
I'm
off
okay with it.
Like he's like he's like it drives me, and it's like that is so crazy, man. Like
I mean, and the thing is like it wasn't like that team wasn't good. Like it was talent.
oh
Like
yeah,
you had like Rick Mahorn, Adrian Dantley, like Joe Dumars.
yeah. Oh yeah, and then down low you got
Vinny Johnson,
Rick Mahorn and Bill Ambier and John
like
Sally, Dennis Rodman,
Dennis, right? Like
Rodman,
we
bro.
got a young Dennis too,
Yeah,
like a young Dennis, bro. Like that was a fucking squad, bro. They were nice.
Yeah, bro. And then it's crazy. Like Dantley didn't really pan out with them. I think it wasn't until they traded for Mark Aguirre that it really started going. But man, like what a team, bro. Like you just said though, it was like I've heard Mitch Albom say the same thing you just said. Like that was kind of like people say like the glory days of the NBA being Bird, Magic, and then the upcoming MJ, and then like there was that 2-year period where some random team just came in and
dominated,
just wrecked the whole party. But we should have won 3 though, man. I don't know if you knew there was that one the year before when I think who was it? Kareem took that sky hook at the end and like they called a foul on Lambeer, and it was so clearly not a foul. Man.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is like that kind of happened again. I'm pretty sure the Pistons almost went back to back, didn't they? We went to game 7 of the NBA finals in 05 or 03. Nuts, bro.
No, it was
We were cold there for a minute, man. From like 03 to like 07, 08. Like we were just.
It was like in the crazy. We were talking about this last time. Like scores, like were you finishing at like 95 points?
Yep. Like 87 to 90. It's crazy.
Like now, like teams are putting up 120 easy.
Yeah, man.
Like those games are crazy. All right, so
man.
We got to talk about Draymond, and like I feel like it's once a week Draymond just finds himself in the news about some bullshit he does said. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Okay, so here's the thing, man. Like, it depends on like what, because I agree. Like the way he said it, it depends on how we're talking about the issue. Like, so what was his comment? It was like, I'm tired of women complaining about how little they get paid for their sport.
Right. He was saying like they weren't taking action. And he was like, them complaining was making it worse for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, with them, constantly complaining about it and everything. And they ate his ass up.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's like, I don't know why. That was like a very insensitive thing to say. If you were asked about the topic, like if I was asked about the topic, I don't think it has to be that personal. It's just right or wrong, I don't know if it's necessarily a gender thing. Like I think it's, you got this group here and this group here. And, the men's sport generates millions of views and billions of dollars of revenue. And I think that's why they get paid why they do. I don't think, in my mind, I don't believe that the world's like, we're not paying the women because fuck the women. They're not as, good as men. I would hope not. I don't think that's how it works. I believe it's probably just because, like I just said, the revenue and the views. And I would hope that if it was reversed and the women's sports made, that much money and generated all the views, that the women would be paid like that. So I don't know. That's how I view it. I think it's more of just like I just said, like it's just they generate this much money for the TV networks and they get all the views, and women's sports unfortunately don't get viewed as much. So I don't really think of it as a gender thing. It's too bad, but I just think that's what it is. What's your take on it?
Well, I think Draymond was just completely ignorant in that sense.
He didn't have to say all that.
It was like. Because they're like outside of them, one is not complaining when it's an actual gripe that they have, right? Like they're not being paid, much like the U.S. like women's soccer team. They're not being paid at the same level that the men are, even though they've had way more success than the soccer men's team have, and they generate way more revenue and viewership than the men do, but yet they don't get the same amount of pay. As far as the WNBA goes, I mean, I understand that they don't generate the same amount of revenue and everything, but they're owned by the NBA. So like they should be getting, I would say they should be getting, comparable pay. Like, cause some of these women are making what like 12th, 11th men on NBA teams make. right? So I think that there can be some conversations there regarding like being able to adjust their pay. At the same time, I think it's not the reason with the I think with the viewership also too is because like they don't get as publicized or as marketed as the NBA does either,
Oh,
right?
definitely
Like
not.
you don't see WNBA games on ABC, right, or on TNT. You don't get that. You hardly get their games on ESPN, and if it is on ESPN, it's not on the regular ESPN. It's on like ESPN2 or something, right?
Yeah.
So I think that has some part in it as well, where they don't get the same amount of spotlight as well for them to be able to generate the sales. So it's like I remember when WNBA first started, like they were getting some relatively high reviews, like
Hmm.
they were all over the place, but now they don't get that same type of notoriety. So I think that affects it. But it was an ignorant comment though on
It definitely
Draymond's
was,
behalf.
man. It definitely was. And it is too bad, bro. Like I wish it was different. Like, and because I personally am a fan of, the WNBA, and I know we kind of covered it last week. Like I feel like women and their fundamental and skills are superior to men. And I wonder if, kind of like how we were talking about last week, do you think a lot of it is because freak athleticism is what like steals like TV? I mean, that's what people want to watch. Someone like LeBron or Giannis dunking from the free throw line. Like, I don't know how much of that plays a
I
role.
mean, I think there's maybe some of that can play into it, but like if you watch these women's games, like these women are super athletic. Like I'm sitting here watching like the NCAA tournament, and like um Paige Becker has a handle on the ball. Like she
Hmm.
can really go, right? Or the point guard from South Carolina like broke a girl down to her knee, right?
Hmm.
Like that has handle.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So there was a girl from Baylor, like there's a couple girls, I think there's a girl at Stanford that can dunk the ball. Like they can do it. It's just, it may not happen as frequently, but they can do these things. But if you watch the game, I guarantee you'll see a highlight or two in the game where you're like,
Hmm.
damn,
Definitely.
you know what I
For
mean?
sure,
So
bro.
I don't know if it's necessarily like it's a void of athleticism because it's there. It may not be to the same extent of the men, but you also I think these men are like 6'7", 6'8", and stuff like that, right? And so it's a completely different thing. Um, so yeah, I'll leave that at that. There's
Yeah. No.
something else that Draymond said too, though. We got to talk about. I think
What did he say?
so. Draymond said that like these new age players, he said they soft as hell.
See,
He said,
I've heard so many people say that, bro. That's been like a trend recently, man. Obviously, we hear that with the older players, and Kelly Oubre said something recently to that effect. Like, there can't be a GOAT today because players are too soft and stuff like that. I mean, I'll let you go first. I just think that's ridiculous, but
well, Draymond even said he was like, literally, I try to go and like talk shit with these players and everything, and they want to be all buddy buddy with me, like.
mhm.
So he was like, it makes it difficult to even try to create some, a competitive nature because they just everybody want to be so buddy buddy and everything. Um, in a sense, I get it because I'm, my favorite player is Kevin Garnett, right?
Mhm.
And
Oh,
he brought intensity. Kevin Garnett was gonna talk shit. Like it didn't matter, and so I appreciate that about the game and everything, right? Um, but I think players nowadays are like, look, I don't gotta hate you to sit there and be competitive with you.
definitely.
You know what I mean? So I think it's just an evolution in the game. It's like it don't make me soft because I'm not trying to go back and forth with you or whatever. I don't need
Mhm.
to do that in order for me to have a competitive edge to do what I need to do on the court.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. But I do agree with Draymond at the same time as far as like I disagree when people talk about people being soft in today's game and stuff like that. But when it comes to that, I do think because I'm like that, bro. I don't even play, but when I play pickup basketball, I'm fucking talking shit to people. Like I just like I just how I am. Like I like that's
You
how
like
I
the
get
intensity.
fueled. Like it gets me my adrenaline going.
Yeah,
Like it's like like this is the last bucket you're scoring. Like you're not scoring the rest of the game. Like just shit like that. And
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
so I applaud him there. But again, just the narrative in general, like that today's league is like soft and stuff like that. These guys can't help that the rules have changed, bro. Like it wasn't their
yeah,
idea. Like I hate that really bothers me. Now, if
yeah.
refs are stepping in and not letting people like talk smack and stuff like that, or get like like that's another
Well,
conversation.
you see, I think you see some of that nowadays where like players can't even like, mean mug somebody. Like you back in the day, like people was sitting here getting dunked on. Like you got like people like Sean Kemp over here doing a Lister Bister, like like gotcha. You know what I mean?
It's one of the greatest dunks ever, bro.
Right. You know what I mean? And you don't get that now, right? Because you can't even mean mug at somebody or have any like antics because you're gonna get teed up.
You will, man. I mean, just in general in sports, bro. And I think it is for the best. Obviously, it's for player safety and stuff. But like, I was gonna switch over to the NFL with it. Like, people would probably argue back in the day it was more entertaining to watch people getting their heads blown up, you know, on a slant route and stuff like that. Like, but the rules change. Same with the quarterback hits and stuff like that. It's just like in every sport, it just seems like we're getting more.
You have to adjust.
Yeah.
Well, I think also too with the NFL, noticing like I think with the NFL is more player safety, right? Because I mean, these players were, like you said, getting hit. Like you think about somebody like a Wes Welker with, you know, consistent whatever across he's going across the middle against people like Ray Lewis or somebody. You know what I mean? Like it takes a toll. So I think really for the NFL was more of a player safety issue than anything else. So
I wonder, is that the argument for the NBA too, with like the hand checking and like when all the rules came into place? For
with the NBA, I remember it was more of like freedom. They wanted to try to get to the true essence of the game, which was allowing freedom of movement. Right. So
see, I agree with
Dr.
that.
Naismith like invented the game wasn't supposed to be a very like physical like game or whatever. It was meant to be a game where there was a ton of player movement, ball movement, and I don't know if it was meant to be as high scoring, but it was supposed to just be a very fluid, open moving game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're just trying to get to what they feel was the true essence of it.
For sure. I mean, as far as the high scoring factor, yeah, but back then they didn't have a 3-point line, bro, and like just recently that got revolutionized. So it's like that.
I mean, but still, you think back in those days, like when like Chamberlain dropped 100, they didn't have a 2-point, and teams were still putting up 100 something points a game, and they didn't have a 3-point line.
I saw a stat on him the other day. He had like 50, 28, 19 blocks. Like, I was like, bro, what the
I saw that stat too.
I was like, do we count this? Like, what is this, bro? Like
he's literally playing against children.
Yeah,
like,
man.
What is going on?
Holy shit, bro.
Put up like 2K numbers.
God. It is so interesting to me though, like thinking like I always do that. I'm like, what would it be like if he was in the league today? Like how would Will, you know, like just stuff like that. Like when the game is so different, like how would the greats, because a lot of people say like the greats would adjust, you know, because they would have been brought up in the same time, so like they still would have been great. But I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, and this might be very controversial, but like I don't know about Bill Russell, bro. Like, if Bill Russell was in the league today, dude, the dude was 6'9", bro. Like, what? He couldn't do any. Like, but back then, he was huge, right? Like, at 6'9". Like, what is he doing in today's league? Like if you brought his skill level, I don't know. Like, it's tough.
I mean, if I'm looking at his skill and would it be comparable? I mean, you got to think, even though he was 6'9", he was still battling with Will Chamberlain and. You know what I mean? And was win the championship. So, and he was super athletic. If I'm looking at his game and who I would compare it to in today's game, I would probably compare it to Drummond, but probably I think he had more lift, like just more jumping ability. But I would probably compare it to Drummond.
Okay.
Where like just can get boards. You know, really good. He's a much better defender than Drummond was, but really good defender. That's who I would compare him to.
See, that's what pisses me off about Andre Drummond, bro. And it's funny you bring that up. It's like I feel like it's all defense is all just effort and like your motivation and you're like, I'm gonna be a dog or I'm not. And I just feel like Drummond has lacked that. Obviously, we saw in Detroit forever, so that's what I'm referring to. But that's a good segue because we were talking about this before, and we've had a couple weeks off since we talked about it. Since LA now has Drummond, assuming Bron and AD get healthy, bro, I'm kind of back interested again. I still think the Nets are going to win easily, but like it'll be like you brought up a couple weeks ago, like how are they going to deal with Drummond and AD, assuming that they come back healthy? Like that would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the other additions that they've added, they can do it, right? Because now you have multiple bodies that you can throw at AD. You got
Mm-hmm.
Aldridge, you have Blake, you got
Mm-hmm.
DJ, you got Jeff Green. Like you have bodies that you can
Mm-hmm.
throw at AD just to give them a different look. You can even there's times that you probably throw KD at him, right?
Yeah.
And with Andre, I think the big thing with Andre is they just need somebody that can just box him out and do their best as far as like keeping him off the boards. But as far as AD, I think that with them adding those other players, they just have players that they can just continuously throw at AD as best as they can.
Yeah. It definitely helps having Drummond, but yeah, I don't see it. Do you have any? What's your? I don't even know if you've given an opinion on this. I know I've been saying like forever, like I think the Nets are it's over. But like, where are you at with it? Like, is it those two?
I don't. I think. I mean, I think I mentioned before the Lakers, but that addition to the additional Rondo to the Clippers, they've been looking pretty solid. And then I think that addition of Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets, they've looked really nice since they've added him.
And you know what's even more interesting is because the Lakers are injury depleted and they're falling, we're probably not going to see like LA versus LA it's probably going to be before the Western Conference Finals.
It may be. Yep. Yeah, because they're saying that like the Lakers could potentially fall to like that 7th seed where they may have to do like a play-in situation.
Yeah,
because they're only 2.5 games up on Dallas, who have the 7th seed right now.
Yeah. So I mean, I keep reading different things, and it's just like we're going to reevaluate them and stuff. I don't see any definitive. I think I did read Davis is kind of close. Like this is what I read, but I don't know about LeBron, and I don't know what's going on, man. We've got a while though, right? We got like a month or two until playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs. So those playing games. Sorry, it's a card. I got a really loud muffler. But it's I think those playing games begin the end of May. I think is when that happens, and then the playoffs officially begin in like May. Yeah, like May. But I think that playing situation is like the end of April.
Okay, so that's okay. Never mind. We don't have much time at all.
Yeah, it's only about 20 games left for each team in the season. So they'll finish those out within the next like 2 to 3 weeks.
Not to mention chemistry, bro. Yeah, I don't know about the Lakers, bro. That's scary, bro. I mean,
the good thing is that they have Bron there, so I think he can be able to help facilitate a lot of that. It's just getting Bron back, and then where is KD and all of that, right? Like, where is his health with his calf? Like, how's that gonna
For sure. Assuming if KD's not even healthy, I've got the Nets probably making the finals, bro. I mean, I don't know.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, the Sixers they look nice, and Embiid's back, and he's back to doing him. I just don't. Tobias Harris, I don't think is a good enough secondary option from a scoring standpoint. That's going to put enough of a scare into the Nets, bro.
I agree with you because I think Ben Simmons is. I think you can make the argument. I know I get whatever I said about Ben Simmons, but like he could win Defensive Player of the Year this year. Like he's playing amazing on D. Yeah. Like they're defensively they're great, but like you just said. How is anyone matching the scoring of Brooklyn, bro? Like, I mean, they score at will. It's not even. I don't know. It'll be very tough.
It's gonna be tough, and then with Milwaukee, it's like is Middleton a good enough secondary scorer, or is Holiday a good enough third scorer to when you match that up with Harden and Kyrie, like.
No, they're not, man. And it's like, even if you don't shut down Giannis like they've done the past 2 postseasons and he goes off, like you just said, they're still not going to be able to match the scoring of Brooklyn. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
You just gotta. They literally just comes out to like you gotta hope that they just have a bad shooting game.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the likelihood of all three of them having a bad shooting game?
Yeah.
Because any three of them can take over a game. We saw it. Kyrie, James went out. Kyrie went off for 40. Right. Kyrie goes out. James goes off for like a 39-point triple double.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of them go out. We know what KD can do.
Yeah.
He did put up 17 in 17 minutes on 5 for 5. Like we know what these guys can do. So. And it looked like Blake got his secret juice back, like over here dunking Aldridge. Like it's
stupid.
It's gonna be like the only like I think it's gonna come down to the Nets and the Clippers, but because the Nets have been struggling a little bit. They lost a couple of games to the Suns, and I think they lost a game to the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was the Nuggets, 1-2. But so I'm not sure how I feel about the Jazz, but I think it's going to come down to the Nets and Clippers. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you for the standpoint of what I said earlier, like just the fact that the Lakers are injured. I had the Clippers going anyways, but if ideally in a perfect world, if the Lakers were healthy and they started the season with Drummond and they had that chemistry, I'd say now they have more talent than the Clippers. But because of the injuries and the lack of that, and like you just said, I didn't realize we have like a month. So I don't know. The clock's ticking for the Lakers, bro. They really got to figure that out. So,
yeah,
I'm sticking with that too. Do. Brooklyn and Clippers is what I'm seeing. And I don't see anyone beating Brooklyn, bro. I honestly think if those three stay together and it's healthy, they could win 3 in a row, like pretty easily. Like how do you stop that? It's dynamic.
You can't.
And it wouldn't be hard. Get something. It wouldn't be hard every offseason to just sign some, 2 big down low guys for a couple million every year.
That's like all you need. That's literally
just a couple like Serge Ibaka's and some other dudes like that. Like just that are
JaVale McGee's. Like that's it. That's all they need.
Man, it's crazy. Man, fuck.
So,
yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's go over to the NFL, bro. I think the draft's coming up at the end of this month. So,
10 days? It's in 10 days.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So we got San Francisco traded up, right? Obviously, Darnold got shipped out of New York, meaning that they're probably for sure drafting a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think it's the BYU boy. What's his name? Something Young?
I think it's no, Luke Wilson, I think is his name.
Yeah, something Zach Wilson. Is that his name? Yeah.
Zach Wilson, that's what it is. Yeah. Zach Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's nice. I think everybody was kind of going crazy over this throw that he had during his pro day. And Louis Riddick was like, let's make sure we're clear about this. And he showed a clip of a Darnold in game throwing the same pass, and he was like, "Just FYI, he did that in pads in an NFL game, not in the pro day."
Yeah.
But I think, to be honest, I think with the management and then with Saleh, I think they just like, look, we just want our guy. We don't want to have to go through this whole thing of like we trying to figure out things with Sam Darnold and everything. See what we have. Like, let's just start fresh, start our own guy, and start from square one. So. I get the fact that they did that. So it'll be interesting. Now it's going to be like what's been crazy is the amount of hate, and I don't know if hate is the right word, but that like Justin Fields has been getting, bro. Like how I don't understand how you can have the 2-year run that Justin Fields has, and now you're like you're kind of slotted to be the 5th quarterback to go off the draft board. Like, how does that happen?
Hey, man, like,
I don't understand.
If I'm the Jets, I would probably prefer him over Wilson, bro, to be honest with you, because, like, my reason is because the Jets are so bad at every position, including offensive line. You need someone that can run, bro. So you need, like, I agree with you completely, man. Like, Fields had a great college career. I don't know. I totally agree with you. He's definitely slept on. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. As far as the Jets, I think that's a lost cause, bro. I'd be pretty pissed off if I was Wilson right now, being like, God damn, bro. So I'm going to the Jets now. Like I don't see. There's no weapons there. Like I don't know.
I mean, I don't think he can look at it like that though, because I think they're trying to bring in a new regime to try to shift things a little bit. I know if I'm Darnold, I'm happy as hell though.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
Right, like you got some nice receivers there. You got a running back there. Matt Rule, I think, is a pretty solid coach. So if I'm Sam Darnold, I'd be really excited about it, and he'll get a chance to really kind of show off his arm talent and what he can do. So I'm excited for him. But if I'm Wilson, I wouldn't be like, because you're starting fresh. He doesn't know what's happening in that organization, right? I'm sure he's heard some stories, but he doesn't know. So now he can kind of hopefully just start off fresh there.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. But we could be wrong. I mean, they might not go with Will. They could go with any of those.
They may not.
So
I honestly don't. I mean, yeah. What I want to know is like, and then I was talking about this, like, how is Penei Sewell falling so much too, bro?
Yeah.
Like he, by far, is probably. He probably could go number 1 overall. If it wasn't for Trevor Lawrence, and yet they have him projected to go like 8. Like what? He's like he's almost kind of like an Eric Fisher. He's like a just generationally like talented offensive lineman that you're completely passing on for like receivers, and then you're like, bro, what are you doing?
I agree with you.
I don't know. I mean, granted, I don't know. The mock draft doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like to see what these teams are going to do, but like, how is this guy projectively falling so far down, like the draft list? I don't get it.
I agree with you, man. And it's like that's the thing. It's like what team? I get it if Trevor Lawrence is there, but past that, if you don't need a quarterback, like who can honestly say we don't need a stud offensive lineman? Like that
part.
You know what I mean? Like that's huge. Like I've said it all the time. If I'm a GM. That's the first thing I'm doing, bro. If I have a team from scratch, it's like I'm building a stellar offensive line.
My line.
So it's like, yeah,
you got to build in the trenches first.
Yep. So I don't know. The receiver situation is interesting because there's 3 really good ones. Obviously, 2 from Alabama, and then Jamar Chase, arguably the best. One of them should fall to the Lions, but I'm hearing, and I've heard multiple people tell me this along with the reports I've read. If they do this, bro, this is the most Lions thing I've ever heard. They're going to draft, what's his name? Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. Like, bro, if the Lions do that, and I'm not even like a huge Lions fan, so I'm not going to get like really pissed about it, but like you have like I'm sold on Hockenson after this year, bro. Like
nice.
That's what I'm saying.
He's
like
nice.
he's probably think about the depletion. I don't know if people realize this if you don't play fantasy football. There's not many tight ends in the league, bro. Like Hockenson is like a top 5 tight end in the league right now, considering that Zach Ertz was, he wasn't who he was last year, and obviously Kittle was injured, but like Hockenson is like a premier tight end right now after the season he just had.
Made a Pro Bowl.
Like, that would be absolutely ridiculous, bro. Like if they did that, I can't.
It would be, especially when the fact that they need help on a defensive line. They even need some help on an offensive line.
Receivers, they have the worst receiving core and the worst linebacker core in the league, bro.
They lost receivers. So, but I wouldn't be, to be honest though, I don't think it would honestly hurt though for them to get, because you think about what New England had when they had Aaron Hernandez and Gronk, and they had that 2 tight end setup. So it may not be a bad thing because one, you can get some extra help on the offensive line, and then you still have two stud tight end guys that are really good receivers. And Kyle Trask is pretty much a receiver just in a tight end spot.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a super bad choice for them to go there, though I think there's some other places that they could go, but I don't think it's a super bad choice.
That's fair. And then that's also kind of beefing up your offensive line. I don't know how good of a blocker Hockenson.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
I'm not sure either.
Assuming that they'd be decent, that wouldn't be horrible. And like you just said, I was thinking the same thing as I was saying it. Like the 2 tight end set can be pretty deadly if it works out the right way. So,
especially with those guys, because they can both go vertical. They can go, they can literally just dominate the middle.
Yeah, for sure. And people have been asking me like, well, if a quarterback drops, where do you have that as far as the Lions? And it's like, I'm gonna be honest. I would ride with Goff, bro. He's not far removed from going to a Super
Yeah, I
Bowl
don't
and
think.
playing
Yeah,
great. Like, granted he had probably the most talented team in the league that year, but like, I don't know. Like I just said, he's young and he's had
you got to
great
see what you got.
success. So
You got to see what you got to see what you got there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not. I don't think it's necessary to go first round because he's still, I would say a top 20 quarterback. I think I could give Goff the top 20 quarterback. So you got to see what you got there, especially if you can get some pieces around him. Like I said, there's other places where we need a lot of help with, especially we need pass rushers.
Anything on defense, we need. Like,
we need corners. Like our linebacking core, like we really need our defenses. We need to work some work on the defensive end, and hopefully we can get it.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. It'll be very interesting to see where those 3 receivers go, though, and like how big of an impact they're gonna have. Because you know what's funny, man, is like Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb. I'm trying to think of the other really hyped
Jefferson.
Well, I was about to say it was funny that those 2, and I thought there was another. Maybe I'm wrong.
Henry Ruggs.
Right?
Ruggs.
But Jefferson ended up being the best one out of the 3 of them last year. Like, so I'm wondering, and maybe it's just a prisoner of the moment thing, like how good are these 3 receivers actually going to end up, at least it's been 1 year, but it's like, I wonder, you take one of those 3, are you expecting them to immediately have like a Randy Moss's rookie year? Like, what are you expecting out of these guys?
Well, so I think what benefited Justin Jefferson is the fact that with Minnesota losing Diggs, he kind of filled in that role, right? And then he's a bigger body.
Yep.
So he was kind of like that number 1 target.
Pretty much because Thielen ran out of the slot basically. So it's
So I think he ended up becoming that number 1 target, especially with those deep balls, which kind of helped him. With Dallas, I think one, it hurt Lamb because Dak went out, and then 2. Dallas is probably one of the best receiving corps in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like they're nice.
I think they're number really 1, nice. Bro. Like, yeah, they're awesome.
And then with Oakland, I think it's just you got to deal with that up and down play of Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And so, but I think they'll get there.
Yeah, man, Dallas will be interesting this year. Like, I got the rest of the division's terrible, and they played terrible this year, but because Dak is back, assuming he's going to be healthy. I mean, they got some stuff to figure out on D, but I think they're the favorites to win that division. I mean, like you just said, they have the best receiving core in the league.
They have to be.
Their line isn't the best anymore, but it's still good.
It's solid. It's solid enough.
Yep. And Dak, assuming he comes back and plays like he did, it'll be very interesting. And then Zeke and Pollard, they're going to be a very good offense. So it'll just be a defensive thing for them.
They can get that part of their game, of that field, figured out.
Mm-hmm.
They could easily win that division. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Washington, though.
It is,
because if anybody can come with them, it would be Washington, just because of their defense and how dominant they
are. But like, what's their quarterback situation?
Right. I think that's what has to be figured out is their quarterback situation. Like, if they can get their quarterback situation figured out, like, and because if you get a decent quarterback there, they got pieces. McLaurin is nice.
Man, it's funny just thinking about it. Like, I sit here and I'm like, they retained all their starters, but like, history just shows it's so hard to repeat as Super Bowl champs, bro. Like, I'm wondering, just because of that, I kind of want to say like Green Bay versus like LA Rams in the championship game for the NFC. Like, I don't know. They looked so good last year and they all came back, but we saw it with the Legion of Boom, bro. Like, they won a championship and then they lost that. It's so hard to repeat. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with the Bucs. I know everyone thinks it's like a sure thing, but like, everyone's a year old there too. So I don't know. Yeah. That'll be very.
We got to think. We got to think like they barely won that game against Green Bay.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't know how. Jesus.
Wrong pipe. You're not wrong though, bro. Like, And the Saints game, like the football in any sport really is a game of like one play can change everything, more so in football. But it's like, this isn't even me talking as a biased Saints fan. I think this is a pretty solid point. Like if Jared Cook doesn't fumble that football for New Orleans on the 50, like, and they go down and score that touchdown, they're up 14, bro. Like, and it's in the second half. Like
Yep.
Who knows, bro?
Or Green Bay goes for that fourth down.
Mm-hmm.
That game was a lot closer than I think people may remember. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially if Green Bay gets a receiver in the draft and get one that Rodgers likes. Beware.
Can you imagine if so? They've got Devontae Adams, like arguably the best receiver in the league. You know, he's that classic big body, like a Julio Calvin type receiver,
right?
Can you imagine if they got a speedster, like a Tyreek Hill or something like that Rodgers could just like air it out to on a fly route? That would be unbelievable to see. I don't know if we've ever seen Rodgers with like a speed receiver like that. Like that would be insane.
Maybe the closest was,
bro, I don't know. I'm thinking like Jordy Nelson.
But and Jordy wasn't even a speed. Who was with him when Jordy was there? Randall Cobb. It may have been Cobb.
Randall Cobb. I mean, he had Donald Driver way back in the day, who was kind of fast, and Greg Jennings, but none of them were like 4.3. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't even imagine if Rodgers, because obviously you're not going to hit him every play, but like just like Tyreek in the Kansas City situation,
that
like
threat.
Like once a game, he's going to beat someone, and you're going to have an 80-yard touchdown type of thing. Like, and it's like if Rodgers had that, oh man, bro. Oh man, that would be nuts. I'm excited for that. Like it'll be a very interesting season. See how all these new teams with all their new, there's just a lot that's changed. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to be glued to the TV about the draft to see what happens with a couple of teams. And Green Bay's going to be one of them to see what they do. Are they going to try to do what they can as far as trying to make Aaron Rodgers happy?
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of make it feel a little bit more confident about his longevity there, or are they just going to do what they want? And I think then the writing will be on the wall about how they feel about him, and may usher in the new era with Jordan Love.
That's the thing, bro. It's like at this point you have Love, so it's like, and your D is so good. They have like a top 7 D, I'd say, probably in the league, top 8 D. So it's like, you got to get another weapon. You got Aaron Jones. You don't need a running back. So go grab a stud tight end or a stud receiver. Obviously, they don't have a high pick, so it's not like the it's kind of slim pickings for them.
But you receivers, I mean, you can get a receiver third, fourth round, like you.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. So. One last thing. So, and with the NFL, so this whole Deshaun Watson thing, right? I think some of his accusers came out, and it's up to like 22 cases now, or 23 cases now.
Mm-hmm.
When the judge just ruled that now the victims have to come forth with their name.
Mm-hmm. I read that because it's like Texas law or something like that.
Yes, Texas law that like in these situations, it's difficult for the defendant to defend themselves when they don't know who they're supposed to be defending themselves against.
Mm-hmm.
So those individuals, they have to release their names. One thing is, I hope that people in social media don't start to go out and attack these women, because you often find that happening where these victims, they come out about their story, and then you hear these stories about them being just bombarded with all this hate mail and stuff like that in these situations. So that's one thing I hope doesn't happen, but
it will too. See. It's sad, but I mean, it's just, it's funny you say that too, because I always, in situations like this, I always think like, how the fuck could you sign up to be like a defense attorney, bro? Like, even if you believe the contrary, it's like, it's your job to now drag these motherfuckers through the mud. You know what I mean? Like these women, I could never do that.
Yeah. But you think about it, let's just say that like their stories that they have are not true. Look what they're doing to Deshaun Watson.
For sure. And you're right.
He's losing his endorsements. His
You're
name
right.
is completely tarnished. You think about where he went from, the moment that he went from probably just seemed like this darling of the NFL, right? And he's in the worst situation ever with the Houston Texans, and everybody's going to want him. So now you're pretty much going to have teams and like, bro, I don't even know if I want to touch that right now.
Right. It's crazy. And you're right. I shouldn't be so quick to, indict him, but I'm a victim believer. That's kind of just like I automatically go
you
to
and I
that.
both.
Yeah. So it's
You
like,
and I both.
but I'm a victim believer when there's so many cases. Like that's like, it's just that's where it comes in. If it's just one
And it's the
person.
same story.
Yep, exactly. Right when I read that ESPN article where it was just all of them, like kind of like detailed, I was like, I'm definitely erring on the side of them. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It'll be very interesting because, like you just said, I don't know who would want to touch him right now. It's I don't even know if he'd be able to play. Like, will he get suspended? That's a whole other situation. I think the only safe bet is that Houston's going to be like a bottom 5 team this year. Like they're not. I don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the hell is going on over there, and it's sad, bro. I feel for. I mean, they're alleged, so I really shouldn't say that. We'll see. We'll see what happens when this stuff comes out. But it'll be very interesting. That's just another factor in everything that's going on next season. Like what's going on with that, and when that resolves, because I know there's a history in the NFL of these people that do pretty bad things within a year. They're able to then come back and play. So.
Mm-hmm.
For the following season, what does that mean for Deshaun, who, in my opinion, is like a top 5 or 6 quarterback in the league? So that'll swing the pendulum for whatever team ends up getting him. So I don't know, man. It's a lot of unknowns there, but
for sure.
We were both right as far as switching over to the UFC. Ngannou, man, that was a pretty brutal knockout.
Dominant.
Yeah, I said a second round. It was TKO, or I said a third round. So
I think you said third. Yeah.
So and it was a second. That was holy shit, bro. Francis Ngannou
is a beast, but we called it like if it went to the ground, then Jokic would probably win the game, win that fight, but it didn't. He's still standing, and you don't have that hand speed and that power that Ngannou has, and he just
yeah, man. I don't know. Hey, that was crazy. And like we've talked about, like Stipe's regarded as probably the GOAT of the heavyweight division now. And I know he's a little older, but still, Ngannou just ran through him. So now it's like Ngannou's looking like it's not the same thing at all. Like Ngannou's lost and the UFC is different than boxing, but he's reminding me of Mike Tyson. Like he's now just mowing people down, and it's like, who's stopping this dude? So it'll be, my God. I would.
If we get that matchup,
I know, bro.
Jones,
if John,
just imagine the pay-per-view sales.
Oh my God, bro, that'll be the most watched UFC event probably in history.
Easily.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of basing it more off boxing, but I'd assume it'd be the same as UFC. Like when the heavyweight division's prospering, that's when stuff's at its best. So it's like, oh man, to see those two go at it, and just the narrative of Jones, obviously, being out and moving up to heavyweight. I already think he's the GOAT, but if John Jones moves up and beats Ngannou, he is unquestionably the GOAT.
Yeah.
For the past and probably the next 20 years. Like that would be absolutely insane. So it'll be wild to see how that pans out. But I don't know. It's not a sure thing for me. I think he's looked mortal his last couple fights, and he's getting up there and he's moving up in weight. And that is obviously, as everyone knows, that's a big caution.
That's a big step.
Yeah. So I don't know. I might have to go with Ngannou, bro. Like if that fight happened.
I would go with him, especially if he jumps right into just that championship fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I talked about here, he gets a fight prior to that, just so we can see what he looks like, and then he gets that fight. Then I'd be interested to see what really happens. But if he jumps right into it, I think Ngannou's gonna. It would just be a road show. Like he would put in work.
Yeah. Oh my God, man. That would be so intriguing. I'd buy that fight in a heartbeat. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what's gonna happen, bro. It's I don't know. I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go Ngannou, like off of just thinking about it right now. But I guess he's commanding, like John saying, he wants like 30 or 40 like million. Like he wants like the most money that's ever.
He knows that this fight would make money.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows it. He's not dumb. People want to see that fight, and so I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him. Did you?
I'm
see,
not either. I mean, UFC fighters are grossly underpaid, considering like that they're kind of superseding boxing now, and like I don't think Jones has made more than $3 million in a fight, so it's like
it's due time,
right?
Yeah.
I saw him say that in an interview too, or maybe it was just on Twitter. Like everyone dreams of that one big fighter payday, and it's like he's never gotten that, and he's arguably the greatest fighter ever, but I don't think it's arguably. He's probably like a top 5 mixed martial artist of all time. So it's like he deserves that. This is a very hyped fight. Everyone wants it. So I hope Dana White can make that happen.
Do you think he hasn't gotten that just because of how dominant he is, that like people are like, John Jones about to win another one, bro? It don't even matter.
I think that might play a role, but I also think it's literally just because it's the UFC. I mean, I don't think McGregor's made over 8 or 9 million for a purse. I mean, I know the pay-per-view buys add on to it afterwards, but the UFC being as young as it is, it's never done the numbers that boxing superstars have gotten. Like it's never even came close. So
yeah, McGregor's biggest purse was when he lost to Floyd.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. That was easily his biggest purse. He probably made like 100 million that night, bro. That was
so. See that Poirier and McGregor signed up for number 3.
Yeah, I think anything can happen, bro. I really do. Like, even though I've said I think McGregor's foot's out the door, like, who knows? He might jump back into it and be able to fucking, become a dog again. Who knows? Maybe that was the wake up call he needed. And I think if things were on equal playing ground, McGregor wasn't 100 millionaire, when he hadn't already fought Floyd and made that money. Like, I think McGregor's a way more talented fighter than Poirier. I just think Poirier had the dog in him that night and McGregor didn't. So I don't know. That's a toss up for me.
Yeah. I think I would agree with you in that situation where, like, I think McGregor's lost some of that, like, just that fight. Like he's set, right? Like he got his whiskey, he's got all this money, and where it's like now it's really just you fighting for the competition and for your name. And I don't know if it means as much to him now, because it's like before it was him fighting for his livelihood, and now he's just fighting for his reputation.
Exactly. And that's what the fight game is, man. I know we've talked about it before, but it's like it's not the NBA, it's not the NFL. You can't be some superstar and then like, no, you have to be a fighter, bro. Like your mind has to be on destruction, and it's hard, bro. It's really hard. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Other than that, RIP to the grand champ DMX. That's horrible, bro. Like
it was, and was what X meant to the hip hop culture. It was a situation where X transitioned people from like that Diddy and Mace like flashy suit type of look, right, to that very gutter like Rough Rider type of look, right, where it's the big pants, the oversized t-shirts and stuff like that. Like DMX, that was DMX. That was his contribution, right? Was just that anthem.
Yep.
That hood music or whatever. So
the music too, right? Like it wasn't the look for sure, but just the sound of the music. It wasn't pretty boy shit anymore. It was like this is rough, rugged gangster. Like
it was some hood. It was just music that spoke to the hood and everything. And one of the stories, I don't know if you listened to him, but he talked about the first time he ever got exposed, or he ever got dick or whatever. It wasn't intentional. Somebody laced him. And it was somebody that he knew and he trusted and everything. And they laced him in a blunt at 14.
Mm-hmm. That's
so horrible, like if that never happens to him, you know what I mean? Him getting exposed to that, like who knows what would have happened. So Yeah, man, like just RIP to him, man. True legend. I'm glad that he was able to get his rose and everything while he was here before he passed away with the whole versus battle that he did with Snoop Dogg. Like that was just legendary. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he gonna be.
He is, man. And like he's definitely a mentor to a lot of the more modern rappers. I've heard them, pay their reverence to him and stuff like that. Oh man. I just anyone that isn't familiar, you gotta go. Just early X stuff is the absolute best, bro. I mean, it's too bad, man. The absolute legend.
Yeah.
Definitely not really talked about like that, but rest in peace, man. It's too bad. Was it so he overdosed, right? And it was just
yeah. Yep.
Just too bad, man. Like you said earlier in your post, like hopefully it just brings more awareness to that, and substance abuse, and it's not a game, man. Even if it's like you're thinking like, I think a lot of the hip hop communities like that too, man. It's like they see these rappers, it's like then they grow older and they're okay, like we can do it while we're young. It's like we've seen too many deaths, man, at his age and even at the younger ages with it. Like you can't mess around with that stuff, like if you want to do weed and psychedelics, like that's cool, but this hard stuff, like it can take your life, bro.
Be careful.
Yeah.